Hi everyone and happy new year. It's that time of the year where I get to flip through all of my journals from last year, and today's video will be specifically for all of the bullet journals and planners that I used in the year 2022. First of all, first disclaimer, I put like these gel nail stickers from Daiso, which was a mistake. So I put those on my nails and they did not come out how I wanted them to. They're not nearly as cute as I thought they would be, but I put way too much effort into putting them on, so they're staying on for a little bit. Please ignore the appearance of my nails and how they look kind of sickly, because for some reason it didn't occur to me that perhaps green might not be the greatest nail color. Additionally, the second disclaimer in this video is that there's a lot of sensitive information that I have in these journals. I did my best to block them out, and I will only be showing you some snippets of some of these journals because of all the sensitive information, so please keep that in mind. If you see something that I forgot to block out, just ignore it. I guess the last disclaimer is that, as you can see, I went through a lot of journals, so I am going to try to go in chronological order of how I started the year and how I moved through these journals throughout the year, but I might make some mistakes, so please forgive me for that. But without further ado, let's get started flipping through some of these journals. If you don't remember, this was my planner slash bullet journal for the start of 2022. This was incredibly clutch when it came to my graduate studies. It was the last semester of my graduate program, and not only was I working on my thesis and also leading a DEI group, but I also was teaching a class and taking a full course load. So I had a lot going on, and this really helped me manage all of the things that I have going on. I won't be flipping through this journal just because, again, there's so much sensitive information here. Like, I've got student names and whatnot in here, so I'm just gonna flip to a specific spread where I have gone through and hopefully redacted all of the sensitive information. So this is what my minute manager looked like on a weekly basis. As you can see, on the far left-hand side, I had all of my appointments and things to keep track of, like meetings, and then I had daily tasks that I really needed to do that day on the day of the week. Did not use this at all during the weekend because that was my time to disconnect. And then this side was just notes and to-do for the week as it went on. This was basically just a running list for me to keep throughout the week. I had this out when I was in class, when I was teaching, just in case I needed to make notes for something to do later, or something to keep track of. That went here. And this whole dashboard was incredibly clutch. Like, it kept everything that I needed to know to keep myself on track for that week in one place. So I am so thankful to this planner and all that it did for me. Unfortunately, around the time that I was ending grad school, I stopped using this because I just did not need that much stuff, and I wanted to do a lot more creatively. So as you can see, I was pretty much only using 3 colors, black, red, and blue, in this journal with a ballpoint pen, and it was kind of boring. I didn't need it to be super fancy. So once I was done with grad school and I finally had like free time, I actually ditched this planner and started bullet journaling again. So now I get to take you guys into my 2022 Traveler's Notebook binder, which has all of the inserts that I used in the year 2022 and some in 2021. And I have a couple in here that I just wanted to show you guys and flip through. So if you don't remember, I was using a GU monthly insert to do some memory keeping as a sort of life log, and this quickly fell off. I started this in March, and I think I only did maybe 2.5 months. But it was really fun during the time because it allowed me to dump a lot of the stickers that were in my sticker collection. I will say that I really decreased a lot of my collection in doing these spreads, which was really nice, and it was just kind of fun to do in terms of memory keeping, and it's actually fun to look back on now these days and see all of the stuff that I was up to earlier this year. And then I did have a gratitude log that I did in the back of this insert, and I, as you can tell, did not keep up with it at all. I just totally forgot about it because it was kind of like out of sight, out of mind, which is a shame. But it was definitely a learning lesson, and now I know to do gratitude differently if I want to journal about that. The next insert that I was using for bullet journal was this life journal insert. It's a dot grid insert and it has some stuff at the beginning, but essentially I repurposed it partway through the year to be a bullet journal. As you can see, it was certainly an attempt at one. I tried out a lot of different spreads and whatnot to see if I can get myself back into bullet journaling, but I just did not like how these spreads were looking. I obviously didn't use these at all, and then eventually I just went to these simple list pages where I had a running list throughout the week. And that really worked well for me because I wasn't doing a lot of stuff on the daily. It was like I will get to these whenever I can mentally and physically get to these. And this worked incredibly for me, especially since I was starting to have to do a lot of things that were unrelated to school and keep track of all of those things. So as we move into March and April and I am preparing for our move, preparing to graduate and all that stuff, this came in handy for making sure that my personal life was definitely on track. Now in June is when we finally moved back to the mainland, and I was starting to not only not have enough space in these spreads, but there were more daily to-dos that I wanted to keep track of. And I was really inspired. I had discovered around this time Randy Dot Plans on YouTube. So I very quickly stopped using these spreads. I didn't even continue into August, and I actually started a bullet journal in like a proper A5 size notebook. So the notebook in question is this Stalogy 365 editor series notebook in a special edition color. This is the special edition cream color. I had been using this kind of off and on before June-ish. I think quote unquote set up this bullet journal I think in like May or something, I'm not sure. But it was kind of like my experimental precursor journal. So yeah, this was kind of like my precursor journal to what my current bullet journal is, and it's very similarly structured in that at the beginning here I have my collections, as you guys saw me set up, and then I had swatch pages and all of my collections. I'm gonna quickly flip through that. I think that this was fun while I was using it. It was definitely different than anything I had ever used before, but I'm not a huge fan of the Stalogy paper. I'm not a huge fan of how much it is see-through, and it's almost, this is gonna sound weird, but too smooth for me. So I fell in love with this. It was kind of fleeting because I eventually fell out of love with it, and eventually I had to ditch it, and I will show you when that happened in a moment. But we're almost through all of my collections. As you can see, it really quickly devolved into just swatch pages. And then there's like, I don't know, like 100-ish pages that are completely unused. And then this next tab that I'm going to flip through is how I was using this journal as a bullet journal, but also a memory keeper. So you may or may not remember me setting up these spreads, but essentially I just split up each page into 4 quadrants, and then one quadrant at the very beginning of the week was just to lay out all of the events going on in the week, and then all of the other quadrants were days of the week. I wrote down events that happened that day, or I needed to keep track of, like a meeting or something, at the top, and then with whatever extra space I had, I just wrote down what all happened during that day. And it was a really nice way of just sitting down and journaling. I definitely think this was a precursor to me doing a lot more personal journaling that I'm doing these days. So this was a really nice jumping off point, and again, it's another one of those iterations of my bullet journal this year where it looks very different than what it looked like previously, but it served a purpose during its time, and I'm really grateful for having done this. But as you can see, I also fell off the wagon with doing this. And then I went to good old bullet journaling. So here's my first monthly calendar that I set up for August. And I kind of returned to that running list sort of thing for daily log, just writing down all of the things that I needed to do in that day. And this was around the time that I discovered Randy Dot Plans and the way that she was setting up her bullet journal at the time. And it was this column setup that I was really liking. Of course, I vehemently hated this preliminary spread that I set up. So I was just like, okay, we're starting over. So I skipped a page. And this was the first of many spreads that I started using this in August and I haven't stopped using it since. It works so well for me because there are days when I have nothing to do and days when I have tons to do, but I can never predict which days those are. So having like a set amount of space where I am able to write these long lists was like super clutch for me. And I had lots of fun setting up these spreads and filling them out and whatnot, but I was really kind of getting fatigued with how small the grid spacing is on this paper, and then also how bad the ghosting is. Like it was so bad in this week that I ended up not using this spread at all because I was so upset with the ghosting. And then I just started switching things up a little bit. Started decorating more. I actually expanded these boxes because I just didn't have enough space to write everything that I needed to write. October was the last month that I was in this journal specifically. And I was still having fun with it. I still liked the way it looked, but I just was not 100% happy with it, if that makes sense. So this was the last week that I had in this journal, and then I set up my November spreads in this journal. But if you watched my November plan with me, you know that I ended up hating all of these spreads. I mean, they're not so bad looking back on it now, but I could not use them. I was so unhappy with the way that they looked. So this prompted the switch to a new journal. This is where this one ends. And that is the bullet journal that I'm still using today. I'm sure you're sick of seeing this cover, but this is the bullet journal that I started using in November 2022, and I'm still using it. I'm not the kind of girl who starts a brand new journal at the beginning of the year. I just start one whenever the hell I feel like it, hence all of this jumping around. I added some stickers since you guys last saw it, so very exciting. Yeah, I guess I'll take you through what it looks like so far. So here are my index pages, and then my collections start immediately. I didn't make a cover page for my collections or anything. I just got into it. There's a swatch page, what I want to do today, when I'm feeling indecisive, wish list, etc., etc. This is my Adulting 2023 log, and I got this from, I think, Amanda Lee Plans, if not Lindsay Scribbles, on Instagram and YouTube. As someone who lives in a house now and just has so much stuff to keep track of, I own 2 cars and everything. There's just so much, again, to keep track of, so this is coming in clutch for 2023. I highly recommend this if you are an adult like me who just can't remember the last time they did something that needs to happen regularly. Just a couple more spreads that I set up recently that are not very filled out yet, but this should be, yeah, this is the end of my collection. So we get to move on to my bullet journal, which I started on this page. So yeah, this was my first month in this bullet journal, and I just like this so much more in terms of the grid spacing and the paper. I am much happier in this notebook, and I've really been enjoying my time in it so far. Again, the format hasn't changed a bunch. There's just a lot more spacing for stuff, and I don't feel so cramped just because of the grid spacing. This is a note that Randy put in one of the orders that I made from her recently, and it went perfectly with like my spread for the week, so I was like, I'm gonna include that in my spread because it's just so cute. And yeah, these are my December spreads. This month I decided to put in a habit tracker and then also a page dedicated to the songs that I really enjoyed listening to in December. And then I put some lyrics from those songs on lined craft paper. If the lyrics are concerning to you, just ignore that. And then in December, I kind of changed things up a bit. I mean, the spread looks the same, but what I started to do is with the empty space in my daily log is I started writing down little things that would happen. Especially when it came to like my no spend. I wanted to keep track of the, like, if I was spending money, where I was spending money. And I think that just made it a lot more personable and the days don't blend together as much. And if I don't have a lot of things on my to-do that day, it still looks pretty filled out. And this is my last spread for 2022. So yeah, that's all I've got for you guys. Reflecting back on my journaling process this year, I think it was really transformative because I just kind of said fuck it to the rules that I had in my head that were just totally nonsensical. Like, there was no reason for me to have rules in my head when it came to my planners. So the fact that I was able to say fuck it and just do whatever I wanted was really clutch, especially when it came to managing everything that was going on in my life at all of these different points of my life. I was going through so much, and so my needs in terms of a planner changed, and as you can see, that is definitely reflected in the physical planners themselves. But I'm really excited for this new year. I'm still loving my Leuchtturm for my bullet journal and planner system, but as always, I'll keep you guys updated if anything changes. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a good rest of your day and a good rest of your week, and I'll see you next time. Bye!